All right, good morning. So here we are on Tuesday after the long weekend that we just had. There was a short day yesterday. I typically don't trade the short days in the markets. I don't find that there's enough volume and activity for me to put risk on the table. So I treat Tuesday sort of like my Monday, even though a little bit of action has already taken place. Today's going to be I'm shooting for a much shorter video is I have a lot to do at my other job, and so I've got to make this video quick. I need to basically find where I want to trade today if I'm going to take a setup, and then that's it. I'm going to do my best actually to start doing recaps in the evening if I can. We'll see how that goes, but if not right away, it will be coming soon. And then hopefully I'll be able to figure out how to trade live here pretty soon. That's the tough part because technically when I'm trading, I'm also working my other job, which has a lot of interruptions. And so it'd be tough to sort of go live and then be taking phone calls and talking to colleagues with my other job at the same time. It'd be very disruptive to anyone trying to watch. So let's just get right into Tuesday morning. Right now we are looking at the NASDAQ charts. NASDAQ futures more specifically. We're seeing the daily chart, this massive parabolic run that we've had since April with really no pullbacks until finally we had one small pullback starting on Friday the 15th for about 3 straight days. And that was about it. We've almost had basically a V-shaped recovery. I thought we were going to double top there for a second, but realistically, if you look at the macro trend, it's nothing more than just a bull flag. So let's drop down to the hour and add up what we're seeing. So I'm going to put on all of my indices here. You can see that, I'm sorry, I said indices. I'm going to put on all my lines. You can see that the previous week we have just smoked right through. So the previous week value area high sitting at 29,349. And if I'm not mistaken, the high of that entire week is somewhere close by. I think right around here. So we're even above last week's high at 29,744.25. You can see the all-time high was taken out late last week into the overnight session at 782. And at that time, I had made a weekend video showing area of interest boxes, which I had placed one here at the all-time high. And you can see currently it is testing it. And I mean, that's really what you want to look for, right? You want to see a previous resistance. You jump right over here, it breaks through that, and then you want to see that get tested. And in this case, this is, the greater detail of that bull flag we saw on the daily. So what hey, look, I did that in one shot. So, what we want to see here is this pathing. Look, if it's really clean, I mean, that's what you want right there. You want to see it be able to break the overnight Monday high and then just continue forward. We'll make this conservative here in the sense of how to plan for the day. Right now, if we just look at where we're at, we can see that we are above. I'm going to use Friday as my main points versus the partial day Monday as for highs and lows. That's just, I don't always know how that plays out, but that's what I do. So we can see we are continuing to stay above the high of day. We're outside of range of the high. We're outside of the value area range, of course. So we are very bullish. We are creating the overnight session, a nice bull flag now, about to break. We break over 44. That bull flag essentially has become successful. And then as long as it can continue above at least, say Monday lows, I think we're looking good to potentially test Monday highs. I don't see any shorts here today. Now that's right now. When I got up this morning at 4 o'clock, it was all about the Iran peace deal is pretty much in place and markets are going to explode. And now, just about 15 minutes ago, fresh attacks on Iran. Oil climbs. What's moving markets is the headline in investing.com. So it looks like we may be due for some more volatility. And on the economic calendar, we do have some news coming out. 9 o'clock, we have the house price index. We have consumer confidence at 10, and I think that's about it for today. But I do know that we have some big stuff coming on the calendar this week. but just focusing on today, I would remain, the bias is I remain bullish. We can see here, I can take this little box out here. We don't care. I don't care about that so much. That low, not worried about that. If we do break down back below the previous all-time high, it has been tested in the overnight. Preferably you kind of test it during the open market. The next support that I see that I would take interest in would be one of two places. Either sort of where we took off on this parabolic move right here on the overnight low. However, you can see we closed here and we gapped up and opened at 673. So we could close the gap. And if we do that, here we go again. Can't find stuff, right? It looks like just from the hour basis, if we close the gap, we have from 671 down to 555. There's your gap to your close on Friday. And then the next area of interest would probably be that low of day around the 492 area of Friday. And that's if we're going short. I'm not saying to short that, but if you're trying to patiently wait for longs and figure out how far we might get a pullback today, those areas are where I'm going to begin watching. If you're able to scalp that, that's fine. I would do that just carefully. If we're going to go straight down, I would see here, let's jump down to the 15. Let's just say for sake of it, all right, you want to scalp the shorts, but we're biased long. All right, that's fine. So what we want to see is we want to see that gap be flushed out. I can see it getting held up at the point of control. So if you get something like this, right, that's a possibility. It's also a possibility that once we break high a day, we could just end up grinding through here again, just like this. It might not go that fast, but if we start to lose value area low and we seem to be flushing through the close, I could see going for, right, low a day sweep right there. So, I mean, realistically, that'd be the only two shorts. If we don't go anywhere near the gap, if we touch and go into the gap fill, but we reject it, right, then you got to go with it. You can't just assume that because we get into it, it's going to fill, right, because it might end up doing this. And so this is going to be a day of, though I'm bullish, I'm going to still wait for the market to react. Right now, I would have loved for this to be tested during the market open. That would have been the bull flag that I would have loved to take. If this were market open, we touch our toes into it, and we close above, that would have been a pretty good break right there at 811. I would have put my stop probably around 791. Even though the true low is much lower, you're looking for momentum during the market open. So I would just put it at the bottom of this candle if I could, or maybe a little bit below it. Same thing here. We have retested, not so much there. Big dip down, and then you see buyers picked it right back up at high a day. And then, you didn't know this candle was going to close red like this, but that's a nice bullish candle right there. Maybe break that high. So you probably would have gone in around 791 if this were market open. It dipped as low as 755. I'm not going to lie, I probably would have been stopped out on that one, but I would have most likely joined back into the game, waiting for this break here, which happened at 799 right before 800. To have a little bit of pullback around 782, that's fine. And then off to the races. First target is the nearest high, which it hit 845. So you would have taken a pretty good loss here. Let's really do the math here. If we were to pretend this were the open, if I were to take this trade, I like that. We take the break here, 791, 81, 71, 61. It would have been tough. I probably would have lost maybe 25 points there. I wouldn't have been able to cover this whole thing, but if I were looking at momentum, I would say I would have given it 25 and been stopped out. And then I would be looking for this break. So we get a nice green bar candle, right? We're looking for that break. We get it right here at 798.50. This one would also be probably a tighter stop just because we're right before the psychological 800 number. Could I have gotten here 773? Probably not. I probably would have put around 780, and the low was 784. So pretty close to being tipped out. And currently you would be up to 843 right now. So you're up 45, you lost 25. So you would have recovered your loss from this nice bullish candle here and just getting basically wicked out. And now you'd be up an additional 25 points if you were to take your profit right now at this high. If we can get through 846.25, I would then probably be targeting around 879, 880, and then back up to 900 to 910. Sometimes when I take a loss like this, it kind of frustrates me. And if I can get that loss back plus a nice 25, 30, and I'm at sort of what I call an obstacle or an initial point of resistance, sometimes I'll just take it off the table and say, you know what, I can now be not only flush, I'm 25 points up after taking a loss. If this can bull flag, I'll get back in. Sometimes I don't, sometimes I do. It's just if I were holding this trade and this were over the market and this were start to turn on me and it goes all the way back to 800, best case, I'm break even on this trade and I'm still 25, 30 points down, and that gets me even more frustrated. Especially when I don't have all day to trade. So, 25 points, not bad. I can take it. I can be 25 points up. If I don't get another trade for the day, I'm still green. And if I get a nice bow flag that allows me a new entry with just as good as risk, I'll at least take that trade. At least I know that if that doesn't work out, it was on a whole new trade versus sitting on profit and that profit being taken back away from me because the market just moved against me for whatever reason. So, all right. Again, it is very early. It's 5:30 in the morning. There is plenty of news to come out. Tuesday's probably going to be a volatile day just because it's sort of like the Monday of the week after a 3-day weekend. And so I am going to see if we can open the market, retest this high of day to make at least equal highs on the overnight high / Monday high. If we can't hold Friday's high of day, I will be looking to see if we get the gap fill. If we get the gap fill, I would probably want to wait to see if we sweep low of day. If we sweep low of day, I'd be looking for a bullish reaction to get back up through here, back to Friday's high of day. If we lose the low of day and we can't hold that, it's anything can happen. So I just have to play the scenario. If we lose low of day, pretty simple. If we start breaking down through 439, 485, we can't hold anything in here, I will short and target 352 to the previous week value area high. On the bullish side, I've already spoken about high of day and low of day. Pull back, gap fill, low of day sweep, and off we go. Or a retest of high of day in the open market, off we go. If we don't get any of that and we remain bullish and positive for the day, well, obviously I'm going to be looking for the overnight Monday high of break, a little bit of retest. And then again, when it comes to looking left and having nothing there, because these are now all-time highs, and these are overnight unresolved all-time highs, kind of. What I'm looking for is about 20 points at a time. So here we're at the 30,000 level. That's a massive psychological number. I would just be looking at probably every 20 points, seeing how it reacts. It's kind of where I have found safety as it's grinding up. You never really know what it's going to take off of. So, we come up here to 337, we retest the overnight high and we start going up. You don't really know where to target. You can either trail on the 1 minute, which you'll probably get tagged out pretty quickly. I've been there a million times, but it is safe at the very least. Or you just try to trail maybe every 20 points. So if you can break through the 20s and you start getting into the 30s, right? You move your stop to, let's say, 20. You break out through the 40s, you move your way up to the 50s, you move your stop to 40. And you just kind of keep moving at every 20 points. Ideally, it blasts through. Maybe you get a 100-point run. Oftentimes, it will come back, knock you out, but it's pretty easy to get 20, 30, 35 points when you're in the all-time highs without trying too hard and you have no risk on the table. So those are my thoughts for the day. I will do my best to recap this later if I can. If not, I'll come back tomorrow morning and we'll do the recap at that point in time. All right, best of luck, and I'll see you soon.